like I've had a lot of those conversations to have a decent sense of, I think, what people were coming from. And I think people said, I want it to be legal. I want it to be taxed at a reasonable rate. I want it to be a safe, regulated product that I can buy in a dispensary that is itself, fairly heavily regulated and not going to be a blight on the community. And also that I wanted to be able to, that folks want to be able to grow it at home. And I think those are kind of like the core provisions of issue 2. Now, certainly, some people are really invested in the weeds of it. I think most people, though, that was kind of the core. And I think that is what we're trying to preserve here.
I agree that those are a lot of the core issues. I guess I'll have one more follow-up probably after this, but my first question following that is, what about the process felt flawed enough to you that what the voters on issue 2 went to the ballot to vote on those core issues, we are better equipped to handle? What has happened in the interim that should give the legislature the impression that we need to fix what the voters voted on 2 years ago on those core issues?
So through the chair to the representative, I think first of all, I would say I think we do need to be candid in both directions, that there is a bit of a bargain when you do an initiated statute, right? There is a trade-off that if you want to lock it away and the legislature never gets to touch it again, we have a constitutional amendment process. Folks elected not to go that route. It's easier to get an initiated statute on the ballot, easier to pass. The trade-off is it is in the Ohio Revised Code. And so while I greatly respect and am trying to preserve as much of that as I can, I think we do need to just acknowledge that it's the Ohio Revised Code, and I think any idea that we were just never going to legislate in the area of marijuana after this is just probably unlikely. That being said, I don't think it's necessary. I think we've had Ohioans who have said, I think there should be legal marijuana. I think if you want to use that on your property, that's okay. But I don't necessarily want to walk through a cloud of it, for an hour at Ohio Stadium. I don't necessarily want it to be, at my kid's football game. I think there are some concerns about whether we want to be, I just came back from New York City and it's pretty ever present, right? And so I think there's a question of whether that's really what Ohioans wanted. That's not what the folks were telling me they wanted to experience when issue 2 was on the ballot. I think we also have the question of, marketing products to children, having products that are manufactured that appeal to children. Issue 2 didn't touch those things, so I think that's an open space where I think we have some room to work, where we're not contradicting anything in the bill. So I think it's more, we have a statute that is going to be a continued source of discussion, as every other law that we have is.